I'm here with Canadian hockey legend Theo Fleury, and we're going to talk about a lot of things that Canadians find interesting about defending freedoms and just how Theo Fleury's been a real leader in that capacity. So Theo, for those who don't know what Ezra Wellness is, the project is, how would you describe it? How's it going?
Well, it's one of the colleagues that I work with in downtown Calgary. And she was a nurse for 20 years, and she was fired for not taking the job. And I think there was 3,300 nurses in British Columbia that were let go. And so she started Ezra Wellness to connect people in the medical industry who were fired for not taking the jobs. And so Svetlana has built a very extensive network of people all across the country, and because a lot of people who are experiencing vaccine injuries now, and people who couldn't go to the hospital for whatever reason. Now they have a place to go through Ezra Wellness to, get their needs met medically. So,
sounds really good.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the PPC party? What's your thoughts on Maxime Bernier's People's Party of Canada?
I have mixed feelings, mixed emotions. I voted for you guys in the last election.
Mm-hmm.
I voted for Max, but not attaining any seats in Parliament was a huge, disappointment. But I don't know if that was World Economic Forum stealing elections plan, but it sort of feels like that and it looks like that. So, the PPCs are the only party in Canada who actually support conservative, freedom, patriotic voice. And yeah, so I just recently got off the road with supporting Joseph Bourgault for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada, and unfortunately he didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
Which was big disappointment. And the simple fact that the 6 people who are running are all from Ontario and Quebec, and we have zero representation for the West, tells you everything you need to know about the Conservative Party of Canada and where their loyalties lie.
Yeah. You're not a Pierre Poilievre fan, right?
Not at all. I think he's a Trojan horse in this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Trudeau's popularity is, pretty soon going to be at zero.
Right.
And, the World Economic Forum needs, somebody to delegate into that spot. And I believe that guy is Pierre Poilievre. All you have to do is Google John Baird,
mm-hmm.
and that'll tell you everything about, Pierre's campaign.
Yeah. It seems like he's kind of on cue for saying exactly what he needs to at the right time.
Yeah.
Optimistic. Very optimistic.
Well, and is there one MP in Ottawa who's actually accomplished something outside of politics?
Yeah.
So what happens when you have career politicians?
Yeah.
You have exactly what's happening right now. A corrupt
swamp
government full of criminals And yeah, and you know, there's zero accountability, you know. And when you have zero accountability, what do you have? Chaos, and more chaos.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you think a bigger enemy is in Canada for freedom? Do you think it's cynicism or apathy?
I think it's wokeism.
Wokeism.
Yeah,
Good
for
answer.
sure. You know,
Yeah.
you know, and it's getting more ridiculous by the
Right.
second. You know,
Yeah.
you know, it's amazing to watch Trudeau when he gets an opportunity to divide the country. It's almost like, you know, he's frothing at the mouth, and you know, he's very elevated, super excited. You know, he loves using words like racism and misogyny and you know, all these kind of things. And you know, I don't know what country he lives in, but he doesn't live in the country that I live in, because none of that is true.
Exactly.
I think we have a systemic stupidism problem in Canada more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the hockey players in the NHL seemingly not standing up against any of the vaccine mandates? I mean, if they did, I didn't hear anything about it.
Yeah. Well, they're in a tough spot, you know. They're in a tough spot. So I'm sure they've been told not to comment. You know, the funniest thing I've seen in a long time was last night during the Calgary Dallas game. Was they had Gary Bettman on during the intermission, and you know, they were talking about, you know, how everything's back to normal, and you know, it's nice to see a full stadium and all this, and both of them were wearing masks. So when I talk about systemic stupidism, that's it right there.
COVID theater.
Yeah.
Like Santa said.
Yeah. Hilarious.
What can average freedom-loving Albertans do to promote causes of freedom like yourself?
Just don't be afraid. You know, I'm not afraid, you know. Plus, you know, I've been to hell and back already, so I already know what hell looks like. So, and, you know, I'm still here. It didn't scare me. It actually spurred me to go the other way and find God and find purpose, find healing, and then be of service. Be of service to, you know, other people who are struggling, and you know, the best way to eliminate fear is faith, right? And you know, the dummies in Ottawa have done a really good job of taking God out of our schools, and you know, they closed down our churches, they arrested our pastors. So you know, this is a spiritual war, and those of us who believe and have faith, you know, we've sort of been able to manage our way pretty well, you know, through the pandemic. Yeah.
I think there is a big connection between faith and religious people and standing up to the government, I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Common theme.
Yeah. And, you know, we need to not be afraid to talk about God. Right. We need to, you know, we need to get back to community. We need to get back to basics. You know, Canadian values are hard work, love of thy neighbor, you know, giving back, working hard, you know, all these things, you know. And I would say that we've had the worst example of that in Parliament. You know, those guys have barely worked. You know, they've worked from home. You know, they've took a couple raises during, you know, the pandemic, and so you know, it's quite ridiculous, honest to God. You know, and when you're awake, there's just no going back to sleep. It's so easy to see, what the narrative really is, and what the aspirations are of, the people in Ottawa, is that they want full control. And, the ideology with which they're pushing has been tried 24 times in the history of our planet. Okay. Globalism, communism, Marxism, whatever you want to call it, has been tried 24 times. And the only byproduct is death. That's the only thing that comes out of it.
Yep.
And what are we seeing right now? We're seeing exactly that.
Yep.
Yeah. On a mass scale that's being super, super suppressed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a challenge when you're defending freedoms to not get trapped into conspiracy theories that really go down the rabbit hole and kind of aren't very practical?
Not at all. Not at all. I think doing your own research and, it's a free country. I'm allowed to believe whatever I want. I'm allowed to say whatever I want.
Right.
I think as a citizen of Canada, I have 3 sort of things that I got to do for my country, and that's vote, pay my taxes, and stay out of jail. Other than that, I don't need the government involved in my life at all.
Right.
I don't need it. I'm very capable of taking care of myself, and I've probably directly or indirectly raised in my lifetime over $100 million for charity. So, when my side of the street is clean, I make sure that I take care of, the people that are less fortunate, I learned that, being a citizen of Alberta, where I believe it's probably the greatest province in Canada for charities and supporting causes. And because we've been very fortunate, we have an incredible amount of resources that creates wealth. And, there's not too many Elon Musks and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates that have come from Alberta. Because when those guys are successful, the province is successful and the charities are successful, because it's almost sort of bred into us that if you are successful, that you make sure that you pay it forward, right? And the organization that I played for 11 and a half years is probably one of the most charitable organizations in all of sports. And so we were taught right from the beginning when we got to Calgary that not only were we supposed to be great hockey players for the organization, but we were supposed to be a part of the community as well. And that means to get out there and support causes and loan our names to charitable stuff. And I think it's a big reason. I think there's 9 guys. So half the team from 89 lives in Calgary. We've raised our families here. We've all retired here. A lot of us have our own foundations and our own charities and stuff. So, that's what makes Alberta great, is the people.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think the Conservatives in Canada are as corrupt as the NDP and the Liberals are?
I would say they're every bit as, or even more corrupt. Yeah. Especially what I just seen happen in the last 2 weeks with Joseph. It's been interesting to see how the game is played and how it works, right? Yeah.
A lot of behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, it's an old boys club, and we're not in it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Do you think that protests or rallies are a good way to help the cause of freedom in Canada and wake people up?
No.
How come?
because there's no action attached to it. It's just a bunch of people yelling and screaming and complaining, and there's no action, right?
Yeah.
There's no organization. There's no constitution. It's just a bunch of people with big egos who are all, trying to get 5 minutes of fame, and I would say with the exception of the truckers, because what the truckers did was they actually were organized, and they actually became the official opposition in the country of Canada.
Right.
And, they raised $20 million, and that's why Ottawa freaked out, and, used police and military and UN people to come in and, use violence to get rid of them.
Yeah.
So we need, we need leadership with action items attached to them, I've only spoken at a couple of rallies, and there's a reason why, because I saw that, they weren't really doing much other than, obviously getting people together, trying to create community, but, because they're so unorganized, they haven't had the impact that the truckers had, because the truckers were organized and they had an end game and they had an end plan, and they followed it to a T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think more effective ways are joining organizations that have missions, or to be a lot more organized and specific on goals?
Yeah. I think that all the people who love freedom in Canada need a home. They need a place to go.
Yeah.
Right. And, as much as I love Max and love what he stands for and what he did, he didn't do that. He hasn't done that yet, and I think that's probably been the most disappointing part, is, I think his ego is a little bit too big for his britches, and he needs to humble himself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because the truckers told him to stay away from Ottawa, and he showed up, which tells me that's all ego.
Yeah.
And when you lead with ego, nobody will follow you. And Trudeau's a perfect example.
Yeah.
When you lead with ego, eventually everybody hates your guts.
Yeah.
But if you lead with humility and compassion and empathy, people will follow you to the ends of the earth. And so, and this thing is bigger than all of us. This fight is bigger than all of us,
Yeah.
and we need a leader like we've never had in the history of this country.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that person step up yet.
What, when you say humility, what do you think Maxine should have done, or his approach, I guess?
Well,
yeah, done better.
He's, he's leading a freedom, sort of movement. And, for him to be in a $3,000 suit, that just doesn't get people excited, because if he's not like the everyday guy, it just says that it sends the wrong message. It really does.
Yeah.
And when people tell you to stay away, you stay away.
Yeah.
It's like Randy Hillier. What did he do? He showed up and he got arrested, or in trouble. And that means that you don't trust the people by showing up, right?
Yeah.
And they want it to be on stage. They want it to be, no, it's not about you guys.
Yeah.
It's about freedom. It's about the people, it's about the everyday people who are struggling to make ends meet and are losing their livelihoods and being forced to be vaccinated, all those things, right? If you would have went there and just been one of the crowd and talked to people and, to push yourself, to the top of the pyramid,
Yeah.
Doesn't cut it.
I remember.
People can see right through that.
Yeah.
You know,
Because another slick politician.
Yeah. Another career, politician, right? Why was Trump so effective? Because he wasn't a politician.
Anti-politician.
Yeah. And he was a businessman, successful businessman, and that's who Joseph Bourgault is. Just a regular guy from Saskatchewan who dresses like everybody else and wears a baseball cap and has built a very, very, very successful business. And I got a chance to visit his hometown last weekend, and I can tell you that every single employee that I met that day had the biggest smile on their face that I've ever seen in my life. Everybody was happy. Everybody was, excited to work for Joe, work for his family. Everybody was successful. Everybody, and that's what we need back in Canada, right? We are so much more capable in every aspect of life. And, these idiots in Ottawa have just suppressed all of the talent and all of the ingenuity and togetherness that we once had as a country, and just squashed it all. And so, me being an old hockey player, it's about fundamentals. It's about us getting back to the basics, which is hard work, love of neighbors, all those qualities. The reason why we sew a Canadian flag on our backpacks when we go backpacking through Europe is there is a certain mystic sort of thing about Canadians, right? And I guarantee you right now, if you sewed a Canadian flag on your backpack and you went over there, you wouldn't be treated the same as you were maybe 20, 25 years ago, So we've lost that.
Yeah.
And we need to get back to that, which is the basics, right?
Do you think growing up in Saskatchewan, small town Saskatchewan, those values, do you think that the Canadian people aren't in touch, like the culture has disintegrated, or the government has more?
Yeah, well, the government is preaching wokeism. Yeah. Right. Which is when you think about it, it's really insanity, right?
Yeah.
It is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, So, I built a career on, just pure hard work and determination, and that's what, made me successful as an athlete was I worked harder than everybody else. Right. And when you work hard, you get lucky. Right. So, we have to somehow get back to those core values and the basics, right? God has to be a part of that too. We were once a very God-loving country, and if you look at the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, that 3-letter word is in there quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right. And so they've managed to to take that out of they've just ignored the Charter of Freedom and Rights and basically done whatever they want to do. But I can see the truth is coming out fast and furious, and they can't get in front of it anymore.
No, they can't. They
can't get in front of it anymore. And so it's the last Pfizer dump, basically. The RCMP should be in Ottawa right now, arresting
everybody,
the whole lot.
Yeah,
what they've done is illegal. What they've done is crimes against humanity, and they need to pay for their sins.
Yeah, just talking to Peckford on Monday, Brian Peckford.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing man. There should be statues of him everywhere. He's a Canadian hero, and it's like if Benjamin Franklin was still around in the States, like, and the media almost ignores him. And
Yeah.
I have half an hour with him, and I've interviewed famous people, but it was just astounding how he's a genius.
Yeah.
And very, very common sense, everything.
Yeah.
And very much like, we have to try this federal case, and if it doesn't work, we need alternatives.
Yeah.
So it's, the guy who writes the Constitution, one of the guys, only guys alive, and he's agreeing exactly with everything you're saying too about freedoms and being illegal and rogue politicians, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's top to bottom. It's municipal, it's provincial,
and
it's federal, right? And so, there's a lot of people that are going to be standing at the pearly gates, looking to get in, and they're not going to get in. So, the ultimate judge is that, right? So, I still have faith. I really believe that God wins. The Bible talked about this time, right?
Yep.
They said there was going to be a final battle, and here it is. We're here.
Yep.
We're here now. And, there's a lot more patriots than there are politicians. And when the patriots stand up and say enough's enough, that's when this thing will be all over.
Yep. Yeah. Do you think I think we talked a little bit about it, you're getting through your addictions and then belief in God, do you think that's given you a lot of strength to stand up and do a lot more blunt honesty than other celebrities or other people who are famous who just keeps their mouth shut?
Yeah. I was abused by a pedophile. And if you know anything about pedophiles, what are they really good at? They're good at manipulation. They're good at coercion. They're good at lying. They're good at cheating. They're good at stealing. Does that remind you of anybody?
Yep.
Right. So I've already seen this script before. Right. And, I made a promise to myself a long time ago that if I saw abuse, I was going to call it out. And this is exactly what it is. It's abuse, the highest levels of government who are taking advantage of kind, wonderful, beautiful, hardworking Canadians. And it's sick and it's disgusting and it's revolting to Trudeau and all these guys stand up at the stump and just out and blatantly lie to the people. Like it's just constant, and but like I said, the narrative is blown up, right? The narrative is gone, and they're in full panic mode and they're scrambling. I saw Trudeau for the first time during this whole pandemic. I finally saw him crack a little bit today, and so I can see that his behavior moving forward is going to get more and more erratic as we go.
What happened today?
He was yelling at reporters.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought he was talking a little bit during the truckers when he was going back to defend. I thought he was really, he ran out of Parliament crying a bunch of times. They didn't show it, right? But because the reporters, because the reporters aren't on the same script, even the CBC and CTV, which, they're just a bunch of whores anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
They couldn't be. That's why it's like, I'm also writing this little thing on fake news pieces.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even have to write it. Like, it's clown world, right? I don't have to make stuff up.
It's
Rebel News and Western Standard and True North are like the only ones that even try. Yeah. They're good, right?
But they've been branded, the conspiracy theory network, right?
Even conservatives, even Andrew Scheer is looking back 5 years ago, he was saying that Rebel News is garbage. And I'm like, you are the biggest, I thought he was the biggest WF plant until I saw Aaron O'Toole.
Holy cow.
Aaron O'Toole is probably the best liberal opposition leader in Canadian history.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Magoo. Sorry, Biden's Mr. Magoo, but kind of like Biden.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, when you look at all the people, when you look at all the characters involved in the World Economic Forum, it's just a bunch of, old money.
Oh yeah.
Old money people who grew up, with a silver spoon and somebody wiping their ass, and it's like regular hardworking people can see right through that shit,
Easy. Yeah.
So,
easily.
Oh yeah. So I would tell people to hang on for just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Because, the thing about criminals is, and I work in the prison system in Canada,
mm-hmm.
I help inmates, sort of come to grips with their own childhood trauma. So I spend a lot of time in the jails, and, the jails are full because, you eventually get caught,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And as you go along and you have more success as a criminal, you get more daring and daring and daring. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Right. So all we have to do is be patient, mm-hmm. and those guys will do all the work for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there's more hope with you supporting Joseph Bourgault, whatever his name is, in the Conservative Party than, say, you joining the PPC? Is that what you're going to continue to do?
Yeah, we're still, we've got a big meeting tomorrow morning to sort of figure out what our next steps are and what our next plan is. But, I don't know what that looks like yet, but it's some sort of, I'm sure that we will eventually be talking to you guys at some point, during this thing. You guys are an established party already. You have delegates all over Canada, and I'm a pretty good marketing guy,
mm-hmm.
and I think if the PPC changes, some of the marketing, I think we could actually pull this off. So
yeah, I think there's still pretty grassroots, so there's still room to
mm-hmm.
develop as a People's Party. There's lots of different things. We'd love to have you too.
Yeah, and
you got the fire we want.
What's that?
You got the fire and honesty we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously the truckers supported mm-hmm. freedom movement, and so we have Joseph's a hero to the truckers because he was the guy that actually put all that together in Ottawa, made sure that it stayed together and stuck together
behind the scenes.
So there's there's a loyalty there with Joseph and the truckers that is those guys would take a bullet for Joe. So I think all, there's so many little small groups all over Canada that are sort of meeting behind the scenes. I think we need to have one place
mm-hmm.
where everybody can go.
Yeah.
And build a really good plan, build a good marketing plan, and take the country back.
Yeah. Because
people are begging for it.
Oh yeah.
Right? They are begging for it. And so, and I think it's doable. But, the one thing is exposing the World Economic Forum, and, the World Economic Forum's MO is to steal elections, and they've been doing it.
Big time.
They've been doing it for a long, long time. So
look at our mayor. Look at the mayor. Yeah. Look at him.
Yeah.
Couldn't even be more WF. They tried.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I remember, I live in South Calgary, and I went to one of the schools, and I walked into the gym, and there it was, the machine. And I was like, oh my God, Gondek's in. She's
mm-hmm.
in.
Yep.
She's in.
Nobody's ever heard of her a year ago, and then she's winning, and then yep.
Yeah.
And having
Not
done
only did she win, she killed it.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Just like Biden got the most popular president in American history.
It's unbelievable. Well, Dinesh D'Souza's documentary is coming out, I think.
Oh, cool.
In the next couple of days, exposing all that. So
he's great.
Should be interesting to watch that. So
one more question. How do you feel about the Alberta separation movement?
Well, as a guy that played hockey internationally, I don't want to see that, right? Yeah. But if we can expose, the corruption and get enough people, awake to the fact that, we've been watching a movie for the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I would say as a last
resort
sort of, dead end opportunity. Yeah, it's got to happen because we don't have any representation in Ottawa, like none.
Yeah.
But the first thing we got to do is get rid of Jason Kenney first, right?
Yeah.
He has his own little dictatorship in Alberta, So if we can somehow get rid of him, get a new party in there that's, that has those principles of, humility and compassion, empathy and honesty and openness and willingness, then, I think, that'd be a good start.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is unbelievable to me how the World Economic Forum has basically moved in and taken over our country.
Our country especially.
Well, yeah.
More than the other.
Yeah. Well, Australia's.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
They're pretty bad right now.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty bad.
So, and it's amazing how they take advantage of really nice people who just want to live their lives and be left alone. Right?
Commonwealth countries.
Yeah.
Maybe the Americans have to help too, but. Florida's great.
Well, we just got to try and get to November.
Yeah.
If we can get to November, but I don't know. I just have a funny feeling that something's happening behind the scenes that we have no idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't think there's anybody who knows exactly what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Even the people involved. I think it's a very runaway train.
Yeah.
Some type.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
But I know that there's, it takes two to tango to have a war.
Yeah.
And, the guys that are working on our side, maybe it's by design that we think that they're kind of unorganized and don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
wouldn't surprise me either.
So I still have faith that, that God's army is somewhere on this planet, looking after us or just watching and observing and waiting for, the opportunity, right?